So it's been about a month now since Saw 10 was released in theaters. We've had enough time to settle, we've had enough time to sit, we've had enough time to really go over all of the traps and rethink and then do our marathon since the 20th of October since Saw and was released on digital media. It's been about a month since it hit theaters and it's been about a week since it hit digital for us all to enjoy from the comfort of our own homes. But with that said comes a dilemma on my part. Back in 2021 or 2022, I don't exactly remember when it was, but I ranked every single trap from the worst to the best, or more via a tier list when it comes to every single Saw movie. And back then, I initially got the idea from Possessed by Horror, which I'm going to give credit to right here. I did forget to do that in the, video I did back then, whenever I did it. But I have a dilemma where I need to rank every single trap on a tier list from A to F in regards to the Saw movies. All 10 of them now. I ended up going in and I found a tier list and then added in all the missing traps from Jigsaw through to Saw X, because this is one from Saw 1 through to Saw 3, which includes everything such as the small traps, such as the tripwire from Saw 2, or the stupid sentry gun from Saw 3D. We'll talk about that when the time comes. But I do have every single trap, including the minuscule ones in the series, but we're going to jump in and we're going to rank every single trap from an A to an F on a tier list via Tier List Maker. Because there's a lot of fucking traps in this series and holy shit, we need to get into them. So the way I'm going to do this essentially is it's just going to be rapid fire because I don't want this to take too long. Last time my video was well over an hour to an hour and a half long and I've got other shit I need to fucking do. So with that said, let's jump in with our first trap being the razor wire maze from Saw. Now this is a trap that I've always really liked for the concept, although the reasoning why Jigsaw puts him in there is a little bit more, complicated than meets the eye. Jigsaw put him in there because he was cutting himself. By how much blood is he willing to shed, and is he willing to cut himself again to make it out alive? Now, I know that self-harm is a little bit of a touchy subject for a lot of people, but personally, I think it's a little bit more complicated than just attention. I think everyone, most people at least, who end up self-harming in such a way especially, are doing it because there is a genuine reason and they want to feel something, and I don't know if Paul was the exact same, but it's a cool concept and I love the use of the razor wire maze, but at the same time, due to the reasoning and also the aftermath being gory, but we don't see much of it, I am admittedly going to have to put it at a C tier. Coming in next is the bathroom overall. This is such an iconic trap, such an iconic trap in the series that forever has been memorable to many of us fans. I'm also quickly going to add in an S tier because I have completely forgotten to do that. But the bathroom is such an iconic trap for the series. It started it off. It is literally a true escape room type experience for Lawrence Gordon and Adam to get out of. And there are consequences either side if neither one of them or either of them don't complete their task in a certain period of time. This is such an iconic trap that is so thought-provoking, and it is long and is about the waiting game and figuring out each piece of the puzzle. So with that said, I'm going to put it at an A. Coming in next is the flammable jelly. Guy was lying about an illness and everything, taking days off work. He was in there for a reason. I just think it's a very bland trap, and not to mention the impossibility of figuring out the fucking combination to the safe that's involved in the room. I like the idea of having two dangers around him, being the glass that he could step on with his bare feet or the flammable jelly that is smeared on his body, while simultaneously having to use the candlelight, of which lights his location, his surroundings, to figure out the code. But the impossibility of the trap in regards to deciphering the code really does bring it down quite exponentially. Not to mention as well, the aftermath, we never really get much of it aside from a single shot, and it is not the best, just the charred body. It's quite boring. Well, we actually get two shots, but yeah, I'm going to chuck it probably down at a D. It's probably the weakest trap in Saw 1. Coming up next, this is self-explanatory. The reverse bear trap from the original Saw is just iconic. It's one of the best traps in the entire series. It is fully functional. Amanda's trap is just so fucking good. It is one of the most memorable scenes in horror in general, in my opinion. And I think it is due to this scene, especially when you look at the short film, that spawned the genre to begin with. The drill chair from Saw, there's not really much I can say about the drill chair. It's a C. It's sort of just there. There is an impossible amount of keys to decipher. The way that the cops, however, do think on their toes, Detective Singh and Detective Tapp, to shoot the drill pieces to save Jeff's life is really cool. He was more of a test subject, but this is before we get into John's ideology overall. But yeah, I'm just going to chuck it at a safe C. The shotgun hallway. Look, I just think that it being a booby trap for the sake of booby trap to sort of get him off their tail, he's killing an innocent cop that is just doing their job, and I don't think that's entirely fair whatsoever. Detective Singh definitely didn't deserve that in my opinion, but it is what it is. Zep's test, I'm going to put you at a C. Mainly for the reason that I love the idea of him having to play a game where he is possibly committing a crime. Well, not possibly, he is committing a crime for his game. But I don't like the idea of tormenting a woman in general, let alone a mother and her child, just for the sake of another game that is currently going on. I don't agree with that. I don't like it. I don't know why John decided that was a good idea for a trap. Zep's test, I think that Zep Hindle as a character is really fascinating. Ben from Lost does a great job as the role, in the role, but overall, it just has a lot of problems in regards to legalities and also ideologies and me getting along with it. And I'm like, no, I would have rather just suffered through the pain of the poison and everything after all, rather than torment a mother and her child. Coming up next is going to be the Death Mask from Saw 2. I am going to chuck this at a safe B. Now, my reason behind it being at a B isn't because it's a bad trap by any means. I actually think it's a really solid trap. It's a very memorable opening. It introduces us to the concept that Saw has been known for ever since Saw 2, as a matter of fact, of opening traps. The last time we didn't get an opening, well, we didn't really get an opening trap in Saw X, and we, with Edgar Munson, kind of got one in Jigsaw, I guess. I don't know. But it gave us the concept of that, and for that it is memorable alone. And I like the idea of it being behind his eye. The death mask itself is a very swift, it's a very simple, fun, and very, effective trap overall, but there's just nothing overly special because it does feel, for some reason, to me, as if they were trying to do a reimagining of the reverse bear trap almost. So therefore it lacks ingenuity in my opinion of overall creativity for uniqueness itself. The electrified staircase from Saw 2, it's a D. I don't fucking understand it. Jigsaw at this point, this was a movie where we were exploring his ideologies. Why are you injuring and maiming innocent fucking cops? I don't get it. The nerve gas house. I'm going to put the entire nerve gas house at an A. Like this, with all these convicts and everything that were wrongfully put away by Detective Eric Matthews, with Daniel Matthews in there. Not to mention the danger of the nerve gas itself, and maybe the danger of everyone going delirious and turning on each other. There are so many variables, but reasonable ways to survive as long as you follow the rules. And the Magnum eye hole, look, I'm going to put that at a C. We never really got much for it. It was due to old mate's own stupidity that he ended up dying. But it's a prime example of what I'm trying to say about the nerve gas house. It is very, very dangerous, but at the same time, you follow the rules and you do what you're told and you complete your task, you can survive with the antidote to the nerve gas that is currently going through your system. The furnace from Saw 2, I'm going to chuck that at a B. R.B. Tate did a really good job for the most part, very solid effort to get it, but ultimately it was his lack of observation that was his downfall in Saw 2, leading to his death from the, when you're in hell, only the devil can help you. But, it boils down to his lack of observation, and I understand in the situation, it comes down to the fact that you're panicking, the adrenaline rush, and you're not going to be very observant, but he really should have noticed his surroundings and been more observant while he was in the furnace before anything else, and before he decided to extract the antidotes. The Needle Pit, another extremely iconic trap in the series. That the behind the scenes is very fascinating. I've talked to my buddy Ken Sledge from Sledgehammer Horror about this. Apparently Shawnee Smith was pregnant while filming this scene, and she didn't want Frankie G to go easy on her, so she didn't actually tell him she was pregnant, and he threw her in full blast and everything, and she was really mad afterwards. But it's a trap that made most people, like I'd say 95% of viewers, very squeamish and very uncomfortable, because a lot of people, most sane-minded people in this world, don't like needles. I personally am fascinated by them. Whenever I've gotten a blood, a blood test, or whenever I've gotten a vaccination, I've always watched the needle go in. Whenever I've needed anesthetic for stitches, I've always watched the needle go in. Even with those stitches I had on my finger last year, like my index finger. It wasn't comfortable, but it didn't scare me either. The needle pit is just such an effective trap, finding a needle in a haystack, quite literally. It's a lot of fun. The razor box, there is a very easy solution for this one, being the key and the the lock that's at the top of the box, that if Addison was a little bit more observant, she would have been able to see. Also, her own stupidity is a detriment to this trap. I understand the nerve gas that is going through her system and making her awfully delirious, but it just, I don't know. If I think of traps that are memorable and ones that I think are overly effective in Saw 2, the razor box does not exactly come to mind. Okay, this is where we fall into problematic territory, where a lot of people might hate me. The classroom trap. I'm gonna chuck it at a C. Mainly for the reason that it's impossible to fucking beat. Even if he wanted to get out of the room, he couldn't if he tried. For the reason that the door is welded shut. Impossibility traps that are designed for execution. I understand that's to the story of Saw 3 and to Amanda and Hoffman themselves. But at the same time, it takes away a lot of the suspense and the tension of said scenes, especially on rewatches. And it just becomes very aggravating. Because I see potential in this trap. But overall, the gore, the violence, the trap concept itself is a lot of fun. Break free of the chains that bind you and all that. It's very metaphorical for Troy, but overall, the impossibility really does weigh it down for me. I'm going to say the same thing about the Angel. The Angel trap from Saw 3. Detective Carey didn't deserve to go out like that. I'm barely going to fucking touch on this thing because it just doesn't seem fair. There is a way to beat it. I've discussed it in my How to Beat Saw 3 video. It's very, circumstantial, don't get me wrong. But there is a way. But, I don't know. The impossible traps just piss me off. The shotgun collar from Saw 3, I'm going to chuck it a B. This was the prime thing that kept Lynn following the rules the entire game, where she had to operate on John and remove the brain tumor. It is a very tense, very thrilling 45 minutes worth of screen time for her, because all she is doing is waiting it out. If she goes too far away, bang. If John dies, bang. She has to do everything she can to keep him alive. Not to mention, it is a very finicky trap that is very sensitive. So one wrong knock and bang. And for that, it constantly keeps me on my toes whenever I rewatch Saw 3, for the sake of Lynn, this character that I am learning to care about and really love, is at any point going to die, thanks to the fact that she kind of got a death device around her neck that is tied to not just the building, but also the person she is forced to save. The freezer room, I'm going to chuck you at a fucking D. Yeah, I think the concept behind it is great, but I just think unnecessary nudity in movies for the sake of exploitation like this trap is not necessary. You don't need to see this poor young woman fucking naked. It's literally there for shock value, and I think it would have been more effective if she had clothes, because therefore it would have been sticking to her and peeling because of the cold. I think it would have been a more effective trap if she was wearing clothing. Having her naked, on the other hand, it's just not fucking necessary. And it just makes me feel really gross. It just feels like it's exploiting women for no reason whatsoever, aside from the fact of sleaziness almost. The pig vat. Unpopular opinion, but the pig vat is an extraordinarily great trap. It is up there as one of my favorite traps in the entire series, mainly for the reason that the pig vat itself is so simple, and it has so much metaphorical meaning behind it in regards to letting go of the demons of your past, in regards to Jeff with his son, burning his belongings, learning to let go and forgive. And to do that, he has to save the judge. He has to burn the belongings and let go and learn to forgive and move on. It's a very important trap for him, and it has a very simple factor to it of burn the stuff and get the key before he drowns in pig guts. It's gross, it's grotty, it feels slimy. I love it. It's great. I'm also going to put the rack at an S tier. The rack is one of the most painful and excruciating traps to sit through, for the reason of watching someone have their bones broken little by little, one by one. Just, it's excruciating to think about, and seeing it like this is such a painful fucking visual that I just don't want to be in this situation ever, from arm to leg to neck. It's just, no. And the fact that Timothy Young was the one who killed Jeff's son by accident in vehicular manslaughter, and this is how he dies when Jeff does make a reasonable attempt after he dilly-dallies the entire time. It is just very unfortunate. Coming up next is going to be Amanda's test. Look, I'm going to put it as C. It was basically down to blackmail. That's it. Thank you, Hoffman. You're a fucking dick. Jeff's final test. Jeff's test is fine, but why are you judging a grieving father and his final test in regards to forgive or kill him or whatever the fuck it was? He's an idiot. If he just stopped and listened and thought for a moment, Lynn would be alive, but it's fine, I guess. It's just Jeff. It's just fucking Jeff. Coming up next is going to be the Mausoleum from Saw 4. The Mausoleum is a trap where two people are on either side and they have to work together while one is blind and one is deaf. Well, one is mute, I should say. So one can see, one can't, one can talk, one can't. They somehow have to communicate and work together, ultimately leading to the big guy dying because he can't see. It's simple, it's bland, it's fine, it's not particularly memorable. It's not like the most memorable opening trap, nor is it the most memorable trap as a whole. The scalping seat is, on the other hand, an extremely effective trap that I really, really love in the series. The scalping seat has an alternative of die, or if he saves you, kill the cop that saves you because all this evidence is planted around the room. So once again, blackmail. But at the same time, Detective Rigg is also going through his own test of learn to save or learn to wait. And have you learned to trust me? And this is the first example of that. I think it's very effective. The scalping chair, it looks like they had a lot of fun on set with this scene. But, yeah, it's fun. The bedroom trap, fucking S tier. I'm sorry. Any trap that deals with a sexual predator getting his fucking upcomings, chef's kiss. Fucking Ivan getting absolutely fucking mutilated the way he does. Having both of his arms ripped off, both of his legs ripped off as a sexual predator. He gets what he fucking deserves. I think he actually got it off easy, but the overall result is satisfying, it's grim, it's grotty, it's uncomfortable to watch, but at the same time, a very therapeutic result for such a grubby human being. Coming up next, the spike trap from Saw 4. I'm not even going to get into it because it will be like another 10-minute fucking rant as to why I don't like this trap and why it's confusing and could have been good if it was taken another direction. If you want to know why I feel the way I do, just go watch my Saw 4 video that I did a couple months ago. The explosive puppet. It's there to just kick Lindsay Perez out until Saw 6. And then to lead Strum down, whatever, but it's not really a trap. It's just, you get too close to me, bang. Oh, by the way, here's a key to the warehouse in Saw, 3. The knife chair from Saw 4, Jigsaw's first ever trap. I'm going to chuck it a B. It is problematic in the sense that it does have impracticalities behind it, and it is incomplete. But Cecil makes a damn good fucking effort. He is an asshole, especially with his drug addiction, and also him being the reason why his son died, being Gideon, John's son, leading him to his line of work now. He gets what he deserves, in my opinion. You don't kill a baby. You don't fucking do anything to a child or a fucking woman in any way. You don't fucking do that shit. It's an effective trap. He has to match the ugliness of his soul with his skin. Yeah. I like the knife chair. It's just impractical because it does kind of fall apart. Next up, the spine cutters. What even was this fucking trap? I'm going to be honest. The ice block trap from Saw 4, I'm going to chuck at a C. Mainly for the reason that the result is great, the waiting game is boring, and Detective Matthews kind of wanted to die anyway. He tried to kill himself about 2 or 3 times throughout it, and yeah, there's not much I can really say about it. Alright, so coming up next will be Saw 5 with the pendulum trap. The pendulum trap is a bit of an exception to my hatred towards the whole unbeatable trap situation, because it was the beginning of Mark Hoffman's story, and it plays towards his narrative in regards to why he started doing what he's doing. His revenge against Seth Baxter, for the murder of his sister. My phone is going off. So for that, at that point, it was him trying to imitate Jigsaw and to go against, with his MO, to try and frame Jigsaw for what seemed like a Jigsaw trap, but in reality was a revenge act against the murderer of his own sister, of which I really appreciate. Not to mention, it has some incredible gore, it's a lot of fun, it's a great opening sequence to Saw 5, and I think David Hackle did a great job directing it. I'm going to put it at a B, because, again, it is a narrative trap that is really imperative towards Hoffman and the beginning of his story, why Jigsaw came to him and did what they did, yada yada yada. Next up will be the water cube from Saw 5. Look, I've come a little bit around on this trap. It's not great. I really don't like it because it's meant to be unbeatable, but I think the saving grace of this trap is, Peter Strum's intuition, and also his quick thinking on the spot. I'm going to put it at a solid C. The shotgun chair, I'm going to put that at a C too. Look, it isn't even really a trap from what I've heard as well, from watching like Dead Meat and from other YouTubers, not to mention as well from mates of mine who know a lot about guns. From the trigger when it was pulled, it would have fired from where the actual shell was. I don't know. I don't know a lot about guns. I can't really say. But I think that, you know, for Hoffman's story, once again, it's imperative. But overall, it's a little bit bland, a little bit lame. The really only thing going for this scene is the speech that Jigsaw gives to Hoffman. That's a lot of fun. The necktie trap from Saw 5. I actually really like this trap. And my big reason is the reveal that happens later. Even though it's very apparent early on regarding the whole, them having to work together against the clock and everything, and them working together where they have to take turns at getting their keys. The only thing that really knocks this one down, in my opinion, is the fact that the CGI'd gore and the CG head, I know that the head on set was practical, but the CG blood and how flimsy the head flop and body flop looks, when the decapitation happens, it really does hold it down a little bit. Coming up next is the ceiling jars from Saw 5. I'm sorry, this one's just stupid. Like, how obvious is it that more than one person can fit in those little fucking chambers? It's not fucking hard to figure out. I think we all knew that while watching this for the first time. It's very easy to figure out, and, you know, them fighting against each other. The electric bathtub from Saw 5. It's interesting enough, but doesn't really have much going for it either in the sense of gore, intuition. I think this would have been better if they were smarter and had worked together, but in the end they didn't, and it really does hold it down once again, but I think it's fine. I think it's enjoyable enough. C tier for me isn't really like bad traps. I don't think they're bad by any means. I just think that they have either personal problems or problems as a whole where it just holds them back a little bit, but they are enjoyable. Anything D to F is just fucking bad, in my opinion. Now with the 10 pints of sacrifice from Saw 5, this is getting an S tier from me. The 10 pints of sacrifice trap in Saw 5 is one of the most brutal, violent, gory, and fun traps in the entire series. It, aside from one, might be the singular most gory sequence in the entire series, aside from one other. And we'll talk about that very soon. But when it comes to the 10 pints of sacrifice, the realization that they all needed to work together the entire time, there are 5 chambers to stick your hands in, like, I think that this trap being the pinnacle of their entire game with the Fate of 5 is really interesting. And then Britt and Malik having to work together and sacrifice about 5 pints each to get out alive, to survive, is really fascinating. And it does such a good job at showing the idiocies and also what John was trying to say the entire time. From birth, you've been told to do one thing. I implore you to do the opposite. It's good for Jigsaw's motive. It's good for his ideology. It's good for them as people and why they're being tested. And the overall trap and result is very satisfying and fun to watch. At the same time, that trap gets an S. The glass coffin, I'm giving it an A. Now, I know it's an unbeatable trap, but it's not. Because Strum, all he had to do was get inside the box. If he didn't stop the player, or just trusted Hoffman finally, or wasn't a fucking idiot and just ran out with that tape player, he would have lived. But, you know, Scott Patterson's time in the franchise was up after 2 movies, and Saw 5, you know, gave us something that we as horror fans in particular have been wanting ever since Star Wars in 1977, with the walls closing in. Now, I know that 13 Ghosts, I watched it at the beginning of the year, did provide, well, in the middle of the year, I should say, did provide that as well, but not in as fun or prolonged, gratuitous fashion. I think that The Glass Coffin is infinitely more satisfying and fun to watch, and the practicality behind the scenes on how they made this trap occur is very, very interesting, in my opinion, from the filmmaking standpoint. I love this trap. We're about into the nitty-gritty of things. We're going into Saw 6 now with the singular most violent sequence in the entirety of Saw. The pound of flesh. Now, I know in the past I've had gripes about working against each other, and it's a competition to see who will win. But for Saw 6, it really works. And, you know, just fucking Simone and Eddie, them working together, her being at a disadvantage, the adrenaline rush. The fact that the actress who plays Simone won through, like, Scream Queens to play that role is so awesome. And it shows that no matter what you think of the Saw franchise, this is a franchise for horror fans. And it honors them. And I love that aspect. behind the Saw series. I always have. Yeah, it gets an S tier in my opinion. I love the pound of flesh trap. The oxygen crusher. Why the fuck was a smoker put in this trap? I have no idea. The concept behind the trap is very interesting, but overall, Hank was at a huge fucking disadvantage that just wasn't fair in my opinion. The gallows from Saw 6, I'm going to put you at a B. Oh my god, I actually really like this trap because it really does go into like William Easton and his ideology and his system with work and his company on how usually the young are favored in the old, and also how, you know, he's got longer to live, he's healthier, he has a longer life ahead of him, so therefore, in reality, you know, Betty, I think her name was, Betsy, I don't know, but she should die because she's older, but she has more to fight for. She has more people in her life that care about her and would notice she's gone. He, on the other hand, wouldn't, and it really does test William in that regard in a beautiful, beautiful fashion that really is the core and center of what Saw 6 is about in regards to corrupt, you know, healthcare companies. Like, it really does prioritize that aspect behind all else, and I really love it. Onto the steam maze from Saw 6. I'm going to put you at a C. There's nothing really special regarding this trap. Sure, the race against the clock is fun. The way she flops over the railing after having her brain pierced is really funny. The whole twist of like, oh, the keys inside of his stomach is interesting enough. But overall, it's just not that great, and it doesn't really play into the whole, you know, healthcare company side of things. Like the rest of Saw 6 does, so therefore it just doesn't work in my opinion overall. Now onto the shotgun carousel. This is an S tier. S tier. The best trap from Saw 6 in my opinion, because it really is like, because only 1/3 of people from Williams, you know, coverage get granted that coverage, but now only 1/3 of people on the carousel can get off. 6 ride the carousel, only 2 can get off. Which ones will die and which ones will live? Make your choice. And it really does do what the, the gallows did, but in a bigger, better fashion in regards to testing his ideology and testing his rules with his healthcare company in a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful fashion that I really love and admire. This trap's great. I love it. Not to mention it has some of the cheesiest but most fun acting in the entire series. Next up is the acid room from Saw 6. The gore. The gore saves this one. I love Saw 6 as a whole. It's my second favorite Saw movie, but a lot of that is down to the narrative and the script, and also, you know, what William is being tested for, as I said in my review with Ken and Ashley from Sledgehammer Horror. When it comes to the acid room from Saw 6, you know, Roderick Heffley pulling the lever and being like, "You killed my father, you motherfucker," is a lot of fun. It's really funny. Yeah, it's cool. I enjoy it enough, but overall, it doesn't have anything special behind it. It does show that William overall did not learn his lesson, and what John was trying to teach him the entire time showed little to no empathy until his life was on the line towards the son and mother of one of the men he killed through his corrupt company. Overall, it's the gore that saves this trap, and also we at that point haven't seen anyone die from hydrofluoric acid, so that was fun. The reverse bear trap, I'm going to put it at a B, because the reverse bear trap 2.0 is essentially just a reverse bear trap from Saw 1, but at the same time, the biggest problem with it is the fact that it is an execution trap. Don't think Jigsaw at this point would have really done that, considering he despises murderers. No, he definitely is a murderer. It's more, again, like, Strum with the water cube in Saw 5 in regards to, like, his quick thinking, breaking his own hand, cutting open his own mouth. I just have a bit of a bias for the reverse bear trap, which is why it's at B. I'm just being 100% honest in that regard, so yeah. Alright, we've still got 33 traps to go through out of all of these, and almost half of them are the fucking traps from Saw 3D. Why? Fucking why Saw 3D? The public execution gets a D. I think it's really stupid. How is it all set up? I think that the whole love triangle thing is really stupid. I'm not even going to get into it. The pain train gets an F. Fuck the pain train. I don't think it's a good trap because it's just a fucking dream sequence for the sake of fake thrills. It's not even really a trap because of that, and it looks so silly. The horsepower trap from Saw 3D. Neo-Nazis and racists getting what they fucking deserve in brutal Rube Goldberg type contraption fashion. Yes, my favies. Yeah, not to mention Chester Bennington was awesome as Evan in this trap. Seeing the Rube Goldberg type contraption just get set off in regards to jaw and arms, to squashed face, to guy getting hit with the fucking car, to Evan going flying and his back being torn off. Awesome. They didn't have enough time, but great trap. Saw 3D, you did a good one. The lawnmower trap from Saw 3D. Look, I think the reason why they're in there is good because, you know, abusive relationship. The guy definitely got what he was deserving. It's a little bit more complicated than simply just fucking leave. It's more complicated than that. But how did they get up there? How did they get up there above the lawnmowers? Were they just sort of hanging there while they were passed out? Bull fucking shit. When you think about the logistics behind it, no. The suspended cage. You're at a D, because if Bobby wasn't quick and didn't have good reflexes, he would have been dead and the entire game wouldn't have even fucking occurred. Jigsaw, Hoffman, what are you doing? The Silent Circle, S tier. Great trap. It's using sound, it's using torture, it's using great gore. I understand that the way for her to survive is very limited for the sake of internal bleeding and everything. She'd have to be rushed to a hospital very, very fucking quickly afterwards. But, yeah, I think it's a great trap. I think that, you know, the whole use of sound in particular is deafening in this movie with how silent they have to be. And the overall result when she fails is satisfying, aside from the pink blood. The impairment wheel, I'm going to put it at a B. Like, it's nothing special, but it is awesome how Bobby has to do, like, sacrifice one thing for himself to try and save her. How much pain is he willing to endure to save another? That's awesome. I've always loved that sort of stuff in Saw. And I think that Saw 3D gave us a good trap in that regard. The Hangsman's Noose gets a D. This trap's just fucking boring. Great. Someone gets hung. We saw a better type of hanging trap in Saw 6. What the fuck? The Wisdom Teeth in Saw 3D. Look! The whole combination aspect is fun. But how did he engrave the combination on the teeth? Not to mention, I think wisdom teeth are a little bit more difficult to rip out than just what it's made out to be. I know someone who's a dental assistant who has told me about this and has a gripe against this sequence. For that reason, her and I have gone into length about this trap. And she is very, very fucking right. And the Brazen Bull. I did it back in 2021 when I did this ranking with Fuck the Brazen Bull. I'm going to do it again. It's my singular least favorite trap in the entire series. Joyce didn't deserve her fate. She was lied to. She was conned. Yeah, Sentry gun. Just executing fucking cops that are trying to do their job. Fucking why? And then same with the cyanide box. Fucking why? It's infuriating. It's infuriating. Saw 3D has good elements behind it that could make at least the game fun. But it has a lot of shit holding it down, and it's certain just booby trap type sequences like this. Like Saw 2 had a similar thing with the electrified staircase. At least it didn't kill anyone. Well, maybe the cops, they got electrocuted, but... Next up, we have the, the Reverse Bear Trap 3.0, or it's 1.0, because it's the Reverse Bear Trap from Saw 1, but it's the third iteration of the Reverse Bear Trap in Saw 3D. I'm going to put it at an A. Now, my reasoning behind putting it at an A instead of an S is because it is an execution. It is an execution for Jill Tuck, but it is still catered towards the narrative and the vendetta that Hoffman has against Jill at this point. I understand that, but there is no way for her to survive this one under any fucking circumstances. The reason why it's at an A instead of like a C or a D or whatever for the sake of it being an execution, or a B because of my bias for the Reverse Bear Trap, is because we finally get to see the end result, and the end result, even with the pink blood, is fucking glorious. The practicality, the gore, the violence, everything about it is just so satisfying. I have to put it at an A at least, even if it is an execution type trap. I can't help myself. The bucket room from Jigsaw. I'm gonna put you at a B. I'm gonna put you at a steady B. Because I don't like Jigsaw. It's my least favorite Saw movie. But at the same time, I think that at least it has some things going for it in regards to the bucket room trap, which has 5 people with each other and they have to figure out the riddle to figure out how to get out before they are literally, you know, cut up and blazed and everything with the razors that are just going with the circular saws. Like, I think it's awesome. I think it's really, really well done. I love it. I think it's cool. They blew their load really early in Jigsaw. The chain hangers gets a C. It's nothing interesting. It's nothing special. It's honestly a little bit boring. Just people being hung until syringes are injected into someone to let them go. And how would you know logically that someone got injected unless you're monitoring it, but at the same time you are helping Logan at that point with his wounds? Like, the leg wires, D. Like, fuck's sake. It's all circumstantial. Oh, I just knew you'd step on this part where you'd fall through and you'd fucking... But what if he didn't stand there and everything for the grain silo, which... brings me to the grain silo. Like, the grain silo is just fucking... I'm gonna put that there too. Why, you may ask? Because with the grain silo, it would not have any way to fucking get out if fucking... what's his name? Mike or Matt or Mitch or whatever? I don't remember. If he didn't step on that plank of wood while trying to cheat the game and trying to cheat the system. Without that, there was no lever. There was no way to get out. And with the grain silo, like, it just wouldn't have worked. Both of them are traps that are intertwined and just don't fucking work. Now, the cycle trap, I actually think, is a solid trap in Jigsaw. It's a little bit... yeah, it's a little bit too futuristic for when the movie actually takes place. For the game itself, narratively speaking. But at the same time, I think visually speaking, it's one of the more interesting traps we've had from the series. The end result, even with the CG blending, is a little bit iffy, but the end result in seeing the blood going all over the place with all the gashes and wounds and him basically being blended is really interesting. A component being the bike that he sold to Jigsaw's nephew that essentially led to his death and demise is a really cool aspect that I really love. The shotgun keys, I'm going to put it a B as well, mainly because it is based down to a riddle and Anna's idiocy to why she failed. Granted, I didn't want Anna to live because of what she fucking did to her child and then her husband, and it's just, fuck you. I can't stand Jigsaw for that reason alone, among many other issues. But I do like the fact that the gun was inverted, like, firing it backfired intentionally, and I think that the keys being in there, here's your key to freedom, and then figuring out the riddle. Granted, Mike, or whatever his name was, figured it out a little bit too late, but Anna, being the way that she was, died in a very funny fashion. I think that was funny as shit. I laughed my ass off in the theater when I saw this initially when that happened. I still laugh to this day. Yeah, Jigsaw's not great. But the shotgun keys with the riddle behind it, I think is really nice touch. The laser collars. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. The CG, the fucking lasers, it just... why? It's meant to feel grimy and gritty and grotty, not so futuristic and polished, and... I don't know, there's just... visually and aesthetically, this trap just bugs me. Now into the 9th entry of the franchise, Spiral from the Book of Saw. The subway trap. I'm gonna put you at a C. My opinion has slightly changed on Spiral, as I've said, but I still really like it. I'll defend it to the day I die. I still really like the movie. The trap for the subway trap, I understand in regards to the artery bleeding out, in regards to the tongue. Sure, there are ways where he could have sawed through the tongue because it's a muscle and he could have survived. People have bitten off their tongue and survived easily. But I guess it's the fact that he's not meant to win that is meant to be the fact of the matter. Like, he dies either by getting hit by the train or bleeding out. Visually, it feels like a Saw movie, like, in regards to how the trap is designed. I don't know. In the end, I just don't think the subway trap is as memorable as they wanted it to be per the marketing of the movie, and also, you know, as time has passed. The same cannot be said for the finger trap. I don't care what anyone says about Spiral. Like, I never cared to begin with, but the finger trap from Spiral is my favorite trap from the movie to this day. It still makes me squeamish. Anything to do with fingers makes me cringe. I I love the finger trap, and it's very easy for Richard Sepieri's Detective Fitch to get out. But just the result, the close-ups, the gore, the concept behind it is just so good. It makes me squeamish. It makes me want to gag. It makes me clench my butt cheeks. Awesome. Love it. I'm starting to feel fatigue going through all these traps, even though I am going rapid fire mode. The wax trap from Spiral. See? She'd be paralyzed. She might even die from breaking her own spine. Again, it's the whole thing of, like, they're not meant to survive because of William's vendetta. The wax trap's sort of just there. It's a cool concept. Like, I love the wax trap. It's so unique to the franchise. But in the end, it's just nothing special. And there are many things wrong with it in regards to they were probably going to die anyway. The glass grinder, just not that memorable. Yeah, it's not very memorable. Marcus Banks' test from Spiral, I think I'm going to put that at a B. And my reasoning behind putting that at a B is mainly because of the fact of the matter that the slow, enduring, just weakness, pain, and agony that Marcus Banks would have gone through with the blood being drained ever so slowly and him getting weaker and weaker, sicker and sicker, is just such a miserable way to go out, to slowly have your blood draining from your body to the point that you're so weak you can't even stand up or speak, to eventually have the result be death. Like, that's horrifying, in my opinion. But I love it nonetheless. Leads to a pretty fun climax, in my opinion. Marcus's actual death is a bit fucking stupid. But, yeah. Now we're on to the newly released Saw X. Finally, we're up to Saw X. Holy crap, I feel like I've been recording this for ages. The eye vacuum from Saw X, I'm going to put it a B. I think that the end result is satisfying enough. I think that the breaking of the fingers, the way it's filmed and directed, is awesome. It is the first indication that we are back to old school Saw in this movie in regards to the traps, the aesthetic, the way it's filmed, the 32mm grimy look to the movie. It's awesome in my opinion. I love the eye vacuum. What holds it down a little bit is that it's not real, but it is used on a narrative standpoint to show the psyche of Jigsaw. And what he says to the janitor afterwards, where he's like, "Good choice," is so much fun. I love it. Next up, the pipe bomb trap from Saw X. I'm going to put that at an A. I'm sorry, but Diego's initiative and the adrenaline rush he experiences, where he's just hacking up his arm and stabbing it over and over and over again, is freaking awesome. I love it. And the way that he just accepts his fate with that sort of almost holy pose to Jigsaw and then just starts hacking up his arm is so satisfying and cool in my opinion. Diego, you're not the MVP, but you are an MVP of the movie. The wire trap from Saw X gets an S tier. That gets an S tier. Valentina put in a damn good effort, even after all of her hesitation. She almost lived, she almost survived, she almost succeeded. If only there were a few more seconds for her. The blood, the gore, the practicality, the test itself, the surgical nature of the trap in regards to them doing this con act and everything being surgically related. Really, really fucking awesome. I think that this trap is so fun and so good. It brings it back almost to the bathroom trap in Dr. Gordon, what he does in Saw 1. But at the same time, it adds a unique twist to it because this entire movie is around surgical procedures because of them cutting them in a surgical way. And Valentina's demise is very upsetting. I actually kind of wanted her to win by the end of it. She deserved the win due to the effort she put in. Unfortunately, she didn't. Yeah, but that trap gets an S tier. The brain surgery trap from Saw X, I'm going to give you a B. Because my biggest issue with the trap is we don't get to see the end result, and the overall anticlimactic nature of the mask closing and then not opening is just eh. But the gore, the violence, the way it's filmed and everything, Mateo, once again, with his solid effort, with trying to hack out a part of his own brain and sacrifice it to get the key to unlock his shackles, he hesitated too much. Again, if it was only for a few more seconds, he would have survived. But overall, it's still a solid trap. It does go back to the scrap trap from Saw 2 with the waffle iron on the face that Addison was meant to have. I think that's really awesome. I just wish we got to see the mask open up afterwards rather than being just simply lights out. and we got to see the end result. I think that would have made it a little bit more satisfying. We don't get to see that, unfortunately, but it is what it is. It's still a really solid trap sitting at a B. The radiation trap from Saw X, I'm also going to put at a B. I think that this is, once again, a really solid trap, and it's a little bit more tame to other Saw traps, but Gabriella deserved to win, and she did win until Cecilia was a little fucking bitch. But her making the mistake of breaking her leg first and then her arm, she still endured and broke her own arm and her own leg to survive and beat the trap. John and Amanda honored this and are like, she needs medical attention right now. And Gabriella, another example of not the MVP, but almost the MVP of the movie. I think that the radiation trap is very solid, and they do a very good job with it. The bloodboarding trap from Saw X, there are just too many grey areas regarding this trap in regards to what it was meant to be, what it could have been, what it isn't, and all that sort of stuff. Granted, though, I'm going to put it slightly higher at a B tier, mainly because of Carlos being the absolute MVP that he is. Him wanting to sacrifice himself, who's like a, 12-year-old boy wanting to sacrifice himself for this old man. I love you, Carlos. Carlos is the MVP of Saw X. The gas chamber. I know a lot of you have pointed out to me in the comments that the whole thing of the gas chamber was a punishment for cheating the system and cheating the rules, that this was their punishment for being, stupid, and that one of them had to die and everything. But due to the whole nature of Saw X, one, thematically, it's pretty boring. Number two, I think that thematically for Saw X, in regards to how it was fight for yourself, given a reasonable chance with a reasonable amount of time, instead of having to compete against one another, even if that is a punishment for breaking the rules with Peter Sears and Cecilia Peterson, it still just doesn't work, in my opinion. And for the disembowelment trap, I can't really say much about this trap. I'm going to put it at undetermined for now, purely for the reason that we haven't had enough of the trap. I saw reports on Twitter a few weeks ago that apparently Cecilia and Henry might return for Saw 11, where it's going to be a continuation from Saw X. The possibility is apparently there. So maybe that'll be the opening trap of Saw 11, sorry. Saw XI. We don't know enough about it, how he survives or anything like that, or what the end result is. It sort of just cuts the black with a mid-credit scene, and it's just, I can't determine my opinion because we don't know enough about it yet. It's a mid-credit scene trap, of which doesn't give us the end result, doesn't give us his test, or anything like that. It's purely be like Hoffman's back. Oh, and this is what happened to Henry, by the way. Kind of. So, I can't really say what my opinion is yet. But overall, that's my list and my ranking on a tier list of all the traps in Saw as a whole. So that's all 78 traps in the series currently ranked. Yeah. Let me know what you guys think down below. If you've got an official ranking where it's like 78 to 1, what worst to best is, feel free to comment it down in the comment section. I'm interested to see what you all have to say. I'm fully aware no one's going to agree with me on this, and that's okay. But this is my list. This is my tier list. Yeah. I'm going to end this right here, right now, because I've been recording for way too long. It's time for me to go to bed. Thank you all so much for watching. Look out for more videos coming very, very soon, including my How to Beat Saw X video. I can't wait to provide that one to you guys. Thank you all so much. Look out for more videos coming very soon, as I said, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.